Wi-Fi over here. Today we'll start module 4. That's your layer 3 configuration. Okay. Okay. In module 4, we'll see when we configure the layer 3 configuration. Means your firewall will work like a gateway. It will do a routing. So can you guys see here? We have LAN zone, we internet zone, and our DMZ zone, and it is surrounded by a virtual router A. You can see all these three interfaces are the part of virtual router A. What is virtual router A? What is virtual router? Virtual routing table assigning to this. So the route for these three interfaces will be reflected under the virtual router. It's like a virtual routing table. I can create the multiple virtual routing tables, and I can allocate the multiple interfaces into that routing table. Have you guys heard about the VRF in Cisco? Virtual routing and forwarding? Yes. Same type of concept most. So on the Cisco routers or the Cisco devices, you will have the global routing table. Here you have the interfaces, and all these interfaces are, the routes for these interfaces will be present in a global routing table. If you give a command, so IP route, it will show you the routes of the directly connected subnets in your routing table. You don't have to configure any VRF, anything. But when you configure a particular VRF, then what you'll do, you'll make these interfaces a part of those VRF, right? So when you make the interfaces a part of VRF, those interfaces routes will be reflected only in the particular VRF. It will not be reflected globally. Getting my point, right? In the same way, on your Palo Alto firewall, you have something known as a virtual router. Virtual router is nothing but it's a virtual routing table. Virtual routing table. So what is virtual routing table? It gives you a routing. Means the routes for all interfaces will be reflected under this virtual routing table. I can create multiple virtual routing tables. Now let's say, for example, I created let's say I have a Palo Alto firewall. On the Palo Alto firewall, I created two virtual routers. This is virtual router 1. This is virtual. I connected E0/0, E0/1, E0/3, E0/4. So I have two different virtual routers. I can create more. By default, there will be a single virtual router present on your Palo Alto firewall. Apart from that, you can create the multiple virtual routers. And you can allocate the number of interfaces to your virtual router. Here I connected how many interfaces to the virtual router? One, two interfaces. Under the virtual router 2, how many interfaces? Two interfaces. So the route for these two interfaces will be under the virtual router 1. The route for these two interfaces will be under the virtual router 2. There is no communication between these two virtual routers. It means if I want to communicate between this interface E0/0 and E0/3, is it possible? No, this is not possible because they belong to two different virtual routers. So this is the major concept of your routing on the Palo Alto firewall. So in a particular virtual router, whatever the interfaces you will allocate, they will communicate with each other. You can do the routing between those interfaces. You cannot do the routing between the other virtual routers. They cannot communicate with each other. This is a segregation of your routes. So I hope you guys understood what is virtual router. Online guys, is it clear? Now, see, you don't have such type of limitations over here, like how many virtual routers you can create. But mostly what we do, as per our requirement only we'll create, right? Like how many interfaces you'll have on the firewall. You'll have like 10 interfaces, or you'll have the maximum, let's say I have a 50 interfaces. So how many virtual routers you want to create? It's not like the virtual router you'll allocate only the single interface. You'll allocate 2, 3 interfaces. So maximum how many virtual routers you'll be creating? 5, 10, right? Not more than that. So you don't have such type of limitations over here, but just understand the concept behind the virtual router. Why do we need a virtual router? Okay. So virtual router is to communicate between the multiple interfaces. Now, the interfaces which are configured, and if they belong to the same virtual router, they can communicate with each other. If they don't belong, if they belong to different virtual routers, they cannot communicate with each other. So two benefits of this virtual routers are there. You are segregating the routing table, okay, and then say this virtual router we are creating in the L3 mode, okay. Now let's say, for example, if you go for L2 mode, when you go and configure the virtual wire, what do you see? There is no need of virtual router. This is only with your L3 interfaces configuration. When you configure the L3 interface configuration, or when you configure the tunnel interface, at that time only what will happen? Your virtual routers will be required, because tunnel interface or VLAN interface or the loopback interface, they want to communicate with each other. So those all interfaces has to be in the same virtual router. Okay, if you guys are working with a virtual wire, there you don't have the concept of virtual router. There we make a combination of two interfaces and we communicate to each other. Is that clear? Okay. So once this is clear, let's move. We can see interface management profile. What is interface management profile? Say, these are data interfaces which I have allocated over here. I mean, like the interface which is shown over here, these three interfaces, or the interfaces which we see here. These interfaces are the data interfaces, right? Means through this interface we'll send the data. We'll try to communicate through the firewall, right? On these data interfaces, what are the services enabled? On the data interface, what are the services enabled? Tell me. What are the services enabled at the data interface? We discussed multiple times. Okay, let me note down. Some of you are saying SSH, more HTTP, okay, HTTPS, okay, more ping, telnet, wow. Anything else? Guys, just tell me, give me a confirmation. Are these services enabled at the data interfaces? Correct. That's what I wanted to hear. By default, at the data interface, none of the services are enabled. And you guys told me like telnet. When did I tell you like telnet and HTTP is enabled at any interface by default? Right. If you are telling right now, like, no, those services are not enabled, why didn't you tell me previously? Huh? Don't hesitate to say wrong thing. Tell me, let it be wrong, let it be right, whatever it is, I'll correct it. Okay. Speak up. SSH, HTTPS, and ping. These three services are enabled by default only at the correct. See, if you will not commit mistake, you will not learn. So don't make big mistake. Okay. So these three services are enabled by default at the management interface, and by default at the data interface you don't have any services enabled. So how do you enable the services? Let's say ICMP at your LAN interface. I want to enable, okay, I want to enable ICMP and HTTPS at LAN interface. I want ICMP at WAN, and I want ICMP also at the DMZ. Or let's example, okay, let it be. I need these services to be enabled at the particular interface. So how can you apply it? You'll create a
Policy.
profile. Such type of things we call it as a profile, which is a management interface profile, and we'll give some name to the profile, right? The name can be LAN underscore profile. I can create the different profiles. WAN underscore profile. We can say DNZ underscore profile. So I can create the profiles with the different names. And under each profile, I'll select the different services. So I'll select ping, HTTPS, and other places I'll select ping. So these services you guys will apply to the particular interface, right? So on that particular interface, what will happen? The particular services will be enabled. Later on, if you want, to do the modification to the profiles,
Sir,
you
one
can.
question.
Yeah.
Can we add multiple profiles to one interface? Only one profile per interface.
No, one profile to one interface. But can you apply a single profile to the multiple interfaces? Yes. Okay. One interface, one profile, but one profile to the multiple interfaces. Instead of creating these 3 profiles, I'll create a single profile. Okay. Instead of creating these 3 profiles, I'll create a single profile. I'll give the name just as a ping underscore profile. And under this, I'll enable ping. Right. I'll apply this profile to all the interfaces. So what will happen? The disadvantage of this is, let's say for example, in future you want to add only the HTTPS to the LAN interface. This will not be possible. If you allow any protocols, means any services, it will be applied to all the interfaces. So choice is yours, what you want to do. Apply a single profile to all the interfaces, or apply a single profile to individual interfaces. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Service routes. What is service routes? It's a kind of default configuration on your management interface. Means, can you guys see here, like, see here what is written? Use management interface for all, right? Use management interface for all, right? And you have select 2 options. You have either you go with the default configuration, or you go with the custom configuration. So what type of settings are these? Now can you see here, like I have NTP synchronization, I have panorama configuration, I have updates, wildfire communication, NetFlow, DNS communication. Okay, so by default, all these communications, I have a radius communication, right? So by default, all these communications will happen through the management interface. By default, this communications means if you are trying to get an NTP synchronization, if you are trying to get the URL updates, if you are trying to integrate with the wildfire, all these things will happen through what? Management interface by default. Now, if you want the updates to be received through the data interface, you want to change the default value, you want to select the particular interface through which you are going to use the communication. For what? For the updates. You want to receive the updates for the WAN interface. You want to do the integration of the panorama through the LAN interface. I mean, like different types of the configurations doing with the different interfaces. Not, not putting a particular interface for all the types of responsibilities. Means not using the management interface for all the kinds of, the services what you see here. So we are distributing the services to the individual, to the particular interfaces, right? So if you want to do such thing, then what you need to do, you need to get into a device setup and you need to go to the services. You will say device, sorry, you'll see you can see service route configuration, and under the service route configuration you can see all the details over here. So accordingly you can see, you can click on this option and you can select the interface that through which you want to use, or you want to connect to the panorama or any other things over here. You can also configure your Palo Alto firewall as a DHCP server for each and every interface. You can configure a local DHCP. Okay, so if I have a LAN zone, if I have a WAN zone, if I have a DMZ zone, for each and every zones, what you can do is you can configure the DHCP, or you can also configure a DHCP relay. What is DHCP relay? It works like an agent, right? So it will work on behalf of someone else. Means you'll have the DHCP server somewhere else. In between, it will work like an agent, and it will provide the IP address to the other clients, to the clients connecting to your network. So either you can make your DHCP or you can make it work like a DHCP relay. Both the things are available. Okay, virtual router, you already knew. You need to allocate the interfaces to the virtual router. Virtual router also can be used for static route, can be also used for the different dynamic routing protocols like which your Palo Alto will support. RIP, OSPF, okay, OSPF version 3, BGP, multicast, all these dynamic routing protocols will be supported by your Palo Alto firewall. And between these dynamic routing protocols, if you want to do redistribution, are you getting the point? If you want to do the redistribution, even you can do through the virtual router only. So think like virtual router is how much important, right? Without virtual router, no communication. Okay, apart from this, we have to go for the translation, but translation will go after the certain labs. So till now, whatever we have covered, we'll see those labs properly, and then we'll move for the translation. Have I shown you guys how to deploy the firewall and all? Nothing done, right? In a lab perspective, nothing is done. Okay.
And also, Sushil, you don't have the VM for the Pan OS 9.0. I think you told you're going to upload into the Google shared drive?
Google Drive, today I uploaded
Oh, okay.
the VM. You can say Palo Alto VM is there, right?
Oh,
So
okay.
under this, I uploaded 8.1, on which
Oh,
all the things will work properly. 9
okay.
point some issues are there. So till I resolve it, you guys use the 8.1. I'll also upload 9.1, but 8.1 tested. It works everything fine. Okay. So almost everything is same. And I also uploaded the videos. Only one
Oh,
video. Okay. All the videos, 4 classes has gone till now. Today is the 5th class, right? So those videos will also be uploaded. Okay. Already the 4 videos are uploaded. And your lab guides are already present, and the extra things to study I've already uploaded. Okay. Those who don't have the access to the drive, please let me know. Today we'll see how to set up the lab. I want all of you to take a note of this topology quickly.
okay.
Done, everyone? Take a note. Along with that, I'll explain you. See, here we have 4 zones. This is management zone. In the management zone, what do we have? A management PC. I mean like admin PC. What is the subnet for management zone? It's 103.0.0.0/24. And I'm having the management PC IP address as a .10, and the management interface IP address as a 254 from this particular subnet. Okay. Now I have a LAN zone. LAN zone is nothing but it's your private zone, right? And I can see the LAN zone subnet is 10.11.11.0/24. And this is my VLAN. This is my WAN zone. In WAN zone, what is the subnet I'm using? 72.16.3.0/24. And from this subnet, I'll use .48 as a public IP. And my gateway for the WAN zone, for the internet access, my gateway will be .254 as a gateway. This is my gateway IP. So my internet connectivity will be via this gateway to the internet. Now, my DMZ zone, I have in my DMZ zone, I have one DMZ router. It's configured it as a HTTP or HTTPS server. The subnet in my DMZ zone is 192.168.30.0/24. And the IP address on your interface is .10 for DMZ, .10 for management, sorry, .10 for LAN, .48 for the outside, and .254 for the management. So these are the 4 interfaces with 4 different IP addresses. I hope all of you have to, right? Okay. Mute everything. Okay. Let's build the lab. I'll connect to my ESXi server through vSphere client. Root and the password as a capital C, small ISC 0123. I'm connecting to my lab, my server. What is vSphere client? It's a client software to connect to your server. Take a note. I have ESXi server. What is the IP address of ESXi server? 10.11.11.254. Okay. Username root, password is capital C, small ISC 0123. Why do you need the details for ESXi? For the lab set. Clear? Is 0, not O. Okay. Okay, so I connected. You can see this is my server, and on my server you can see there are multiple virtual machines. It's just like this is my PC, my laptop. On this PC, I have installed one vSphere client application, and through that application, I have connected to the server. and the server on the server I have multiple virtual machines. You understood, right? Okay. So whenever you guys will be connecting to the lab, and if you see any devices running, just suspend it. Okay. Oh. Okay, see here. The other devices which are running over here, I'm just turning it off. Now, according to our topology, how many devices do we need? I need one Palo Alto firewall, right? I need one management PC. So let's take these two devices first. See, I have a Palo Alto firewall pre-deployed, but I'll delete it. Okay. I'm going to deploy the Palo Alto firewall in front of you, and I'll show you how to deploy the Palo Alto firewall on your virtual machine, on your ESXi or on the VMware. You will already have this backup with you. I've already shared this OVA file. OVA file. Can you see this is OVA file? What is OVA file? It's a backup of your VMware. So we created the virtual machine and we took a backup. So it's not like a ISO file. It's a OVA file or OVF file. So these files you can directly import on the virtual machine. I mean, like on the virtual server or the workstation. You don't need to install it. It's pre-installed, just import it. So what I'll do, I'll get into ESXi server. I'll say deploy OVF template. You can see OVF template. I'll go to the particular location where I have kept the VM file. Can you see PAVM ESXi? ESX is written over here. That's your ESXi 8.1. I'll select this, say open, say next. How much RAM is required? 2.1 GB downloading size. Okay, this is 8.1. Disk is required 3.8 GB. In a thin provision, in thick provision, it will select up to 60 GB. So I'll go with what? Thin provision. Okay. So this is no one is going to make any modifications on this firewall. For students, I'll give the separate firewall. I'll say next. I'll go with the thin provision. Say next, next, finish. It will take some time to import the backup file as a virtual machine on your VMware or the ESXi. So you have to wait for a few minutes and let this virtual machine get imported. You understood, right? What is the OVA file or the OVA file, right? It's a backup file of your virtual machine. So you can directly import it on your virtual platform. Okay, you don't need to install it. You don't need to do anything else. So just wait and let it get imported.
Sushil, so I am having the 7.01 on workstation. Can I wipe it off and import new, or do you want me delete it for good and again import the new OVI file?
Don't go for 7.0. It's very
Right.
old now. Use at 8.1 with the new features you can.
Okay.
I then only the configurations will go right. If you delete it, it's better. You'll get the space and practice with the new one. That is unlicensed, right? With no license.
I think so. I don't remember that. So I can upgrade. If I select upgrade
No,
this virtual
actually,
machine, I
this is
can.
not a patch file, right? That you will use
Okay.
it for the upgradation. It's a backup
Okay.
file. Okay, you can directly import it.
Okay.
So delete the previous one because the previous firewall will not support these certificates and all those things. Means that the
Okay.
files will not work. So it's better to work with it.
And are you going to work on building the lab with the teams, or what is the plan? I mean, regarding the lab workout.
Right now I'm building the lab in front of you, right? I'm showing you on
Okay.
P4 and I'll show you each and everything. So what you guys need to do, if you have a sufficient resources with you, I mean like sufficient RAM and processor with you,
Mm-hmm.
create your own lab, or else I'll give you the team viewer access. Let's say for example, the setup which I'm doing right now, you'll take a remote access or you'll get a
Okay.
physical access. Let's say those who are coming physically over here, they can connect to the lab physically, or else those who are connecting from home, let's say those who are not present in NH, they will get this they'll get the team viewer ID. So I'll share this team viewer ID. You can also take a note. This is the team viewer ID, the selected one. And you'll click on connect. And as for the session, I'll provide you the password.
Okay.
So you will be connected to the lab. Now this is the base PC on which you have connected. Now can you see VMware vSphere client? If you want to connect to ESXi server, then what will be the IP address? 10.11.11.254. Username root. Password capital C small ISC 0123. Let's say if you forget the details, you can find ESXi server details over here. So what is the ESXi server IP address? Everything is mentioned over here. And once you guys get connected to the ESXi server, after that, how will you access the device? That you are going to learn now. I'm importing one Palo Alto firewall, right? This
Mm-hmm.
is for weekdays. You can see it's already imported. So you guys are not going to import a new firewall. Whatever the firewalls will be set up over here, that particular firewall you will use for your lab purpose. Here, you can see for the students I have already deployed 9.0. I'll also deploy one of the firewall for 8.0 as well. So don't, can you see guys, can you feel like, it's the same way as I'm accessing from my base PC? The same thing you are getting access with the remote PC and you're accessing the lab, right? I'll get disconnected. So this is the way you guys can take a remote access and do the labs. Okay. I deployed a Palo Alto firewall for weekdays. Remember, we are using 8.1 for weekdays, and you guys are not going to modify this firewall as of now till we complete our session, entire session. If you guys want to use the firewall, you can use 9.0, or else you can, I'll import one more firewall for you guys. 8.3 also I'll import it. Sorry, 8.1 for students. Sorry, there is only one Palo Alto that, okay, so you don't need to worry. So you use this Palo Alto firewall as I'm using it. Am I clear? Other devices you can use. Other devices, whatever I'm using for the lab purpose, you guys can also use it. So there is no issue with the other devices. Only the major part will be firewall. So the firewall which we have deployed already for weekdays, I'm going to power it on. So I'll right click and I'll say power on. And if I want to see the console, I need to click on console. Or else you guys can right click on this firewall and open the individual console in this way. Okay. So I can see my Palo Alto firewall is getting booted over here. Wait for a few minutes. It will come up. Meanwhile, what we'll do, we'll see on the Palo Alto firewall like how many interfaces are there. If I right click and if I go to edit settings, how many interfaces? 2 interfaces only. Up to how many interfaces can you add? 10. You can add up to 10 interfaces. But how many interfaces are required as per our topology? And include 2 more interfaces for HA purpose. So total 6 interfaces will be required. Out of that, how many interfaces do we have? 2. Let's add more interfaces. One, two, three, four, 5, and I'll add one more interface. So total 6 interfaces, right? Okay. And I added 6 interfaces. Now let this firewall come up. Once the firewall will come up, then we'll check the interfaces. Okay.
Sushil, can you go on to the diagram which you showed earlier? Yeah, so 5 interfaces. I'm just trying to count. I only see 3 virtual interfaces on the firewall.
1 for management.
Yeah, management by default. Yeah.
3 for data interfaces. 4 interfaces.
Right. Correct.
And later on, I'll use 2 more interfaces for HA purpose.
I see. Okay. So you're going to deploy one more Palo Alto and you create HA between them?
Correct.
Okay, okay.
Later on, we'll go for the HA purpose, and this will be the topology. So we'll require the 2 more interfaces over here. Okay, HA1 and HA2. That's what I've given. So let's see. Your firewall is ready to log in. Okay. Now currently I can see how many interfaces are there on the Palo Alto firewall? 6 interfaces. These adapters I need to put in the respective VLANs to communicate with each other. Now you can see it is prompting you for login. It means it is ready for the console access. It's a console access. This login is giving you the console access. CLI. Now let me log in. Write the username. Default username is admin. Admin. What does it throw you an error?
Small case.
No. This login credentials are correct. Forget about assigning the IP address. First of all, we need to log in, right? The login credentials are incorrect, it is saying. How come? And when I'll use the same thing, admin, again incorrect.
Yeah, I had the same issue. Admin.
Sorry. Password, I'm giving the password admin, again giving admin. Right, again saying incorrect. What am I doing right now? I'm waiting, right? Wait for few minutes.
Okay.
Initially, when your device will start, it will take few minutes to get ready. So until and unless your database is ready, you will not get logged in, though you give the correct credentials. What do you notice over here, guys? Your 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 PA has received the IP address with the DHCP server. In my network, I have a DHCP server. It has received the .8 as an IP address from the DHCP server, right? Am I clear? Why? Why did it receive the IP address from the DHCP server? Okay, let me log in. Admin. Here, I'm logged in. I'm logged in. The same credential, it was not working 1 minute ago. Now it's working. Reason? No, it's not like DHCP. It will receive the IP address from the DHCP. Let's say you are using Palo Alto in your network wherein you don't have a DHCP. It means you won't be able to log in. You will. You will be able to log in, but after 2-3 minutes. Try to log in after 3-4 minutes. Give some time, and after that login, you'll be able to log in with the same credential. You can say show interface all. Have we configured any interfaces? No. That's why none of the interfaces are being reflected over here. It will show are configured. What do you see the management inside the is this IP address? It has received an IP address from what? How will you so system info? Give this command, guys. Take this command. Whatever the CLI commands I'm typing, please take a note. And I'm typing at which mode? Informational mode, right? Not at the configuration mode. Okay, you guys will give to system info command. What do you see here? IP assignment is done through, guys. See here. IP assignment is done through is enabled at the management interface on the VMware. By default, management interface will receive an IP address from the DHCP server, and you can see here it's showing you IP assignment was done through the DHCP. So if you want to assign the static IP address to the management interface, you need to delete the DHCP. So you'll go from operational mode to configuration mode, right? So you'll say configure, and you would give the command, write the command, delete device config system type DHCP client. Give this command. Delete device config system type DHCP client.
So are you deleting the local DHCP pool something?
I'm not deleting a pool. I'm just deleting a DHCP client,
Okay.
which is pre-configured on your VM. Okay. This will not be present on the hardware. This is only present on the VM.
Virtual. Okay, virtual P. Okay.
So after giving this command, say commit. If you don't say commit, your configurations will not be applied to the running config, right? So to make the changes, you have to commit. It will show you in the percentage, 75%, 99%, 100% done. So your task, what you committed was successfully done. Now, come to the operational mode and say show system info. Now what do you see? Your static assignment will be done now. But already it has taken the IP address from the DHCP server, right? That IP address is only reflecting over here. Now we'll configure in a static way. Let's configure. So what I'll do here, I'll say set device config system IP address. Give this command. And what is the IP address that you want to configure, guys? Tell me. What is the IP address that I want to configure according to my lab? Check your topology properly. Management interface. 103.0.0.250. With the net mask
10, sir. /24.
Guys, please turn off your mic. Use it only when you have some, queries.
/24, sir.
Jivana,
Yes, sir.
Some background noise is there. Okay. See, I gave the command, right? I configured just an IP address with the mask. I could also say default gateway. I could configure the gateway. Let's say, for example, 103.0.0. My 100 IP address is the gateway. I can also continue the command with DNS setting with the server primary. My primary server is 8.8.8 and my secondary server is 4.2.2. See, I can continue the syntax and I can configure gateway or DNS server in one syntax. Did you understand? Or else you can go for the individual commands partially. This is for IP address. Set device config system default gateway like 103.0.0.100. I can also end the command over here. So I can individually assign the IP address, individually assign the gateway, and individually also I can assign the DNS setting, servers, primary 8.8.8 and secondary as a 4.2.2. Right? Did you understand what did I do? I configured IP address manually. I configured along with the IP address, gateway, DNS, everything at a time. Or else you can go with the individual commands. DNS separately, gateway separately. So it's up to you how you want to configure. Let's say initially you configured only IP address. Later on you need to configure the gateway. Later on again required to change the gateway IP or the DNS IP. So this is the way you can change individual configurations. Now say commit. I'm just giving you example. This is how you will type the command for gateway. I don't need a gateway over here. Understood? According to my topology, I don't have any gateway, right? Why would I need a gateway to communicate within a same subnet? Not required, right? Within the same subnet, you don't need a gateway. That was just an example to configure a gateway. Fine. How will you configure a DNS? Through CLM. Okay, once we configured, let's verify is it configured or not. How will you verify, guys? Show static. Can you see this IP address? Can you see the gateway subnet mask? So this is the configuration that we have done. Now, to access this firewall through the management interface, we need an admin PC, right? Right now we are accessing this firewall through console. This is called console. Now I need to access the firewall through management interface. I configured management interface. I need one management PC or admin PC. Do you see you have an admin PC over here? Power it on.
So is it a workstation Windows 12 something?
No, it's a normal PC, normal Windows 7,
Okay.
Windows 10, whatever you can install. I want to put this interface in a management VLAN. Can you see there is a management VLAN? I kept this PC in the management VLAN. I'll go to the Palo Alto firewall. The first interface, very first interface is the management interface. Can you see the MAC address over here? Take a note. Not visible. Right, 62B9. Done. Last digit we have written, okay? If I come to CLI, what is the MAC address? 62B9. Is it matching? Is it confirmed? The first interface is the management interface. So your first interface should be in which VLAN? Management VLAN. And let's get a console of this admin PC. On this admin PC, this is admin PC, guys. And on this admin PC, we have pre-configured IP address, right? I'll try pinging. I'll ping my firewall management interface 103.0.0.254. Do you have the connectivity? Guys, take a break for 2 minutes. Okay.
You will be uploading this by end of the day, right, Sushil? Today's recording.
Yeah, it will be there for yeah.
So that we can practice it.
Guys, I got some emergency. Okay, I'll end the class right now. Okay, see you guys tomorrow.